What's up, grinders? Welcome back to the channel, and today I have another hyper-polyglot investigation for you all, so I hope you're ready. We're going to be looking at SonnyWils. So this is the YouTube channel in question right here. As you can see, he's got almost 300,000 subscribers, so go Sony. If we check out the description, it says Polyglot Vlog. Here I do Omi TV vlog in different languages, 10 languages before 30. So he doesn't say anything about how he speaks, like how well or anything like that, just 10 languages, okay? So if we go down, take a look at the YouTube channel, you can see it's basically stuff like what Kazoo Languages does or Wowta does, but there's also like vlogs and videos like that in there. Okay, so we will go take a look at the Instagram now, and as you can see right here, we've got a similar story except a lot more followers. In the description, we don't really get too much information, but if we go down the Instagram page, we see the same types of videos as we do on YouTube, just obviously they're more shorts and stuff like that. Okay, so he also has a Instagram for a course that he's running. As you can see right now, he's got currently 50 plus students, or he's had at least 50 plus students because they're satisfied. It's good to know that they're satisfied. And on this page, he just shows stuff from him teaching and, you know, the methods that he uses. Additionally, we have a jersey page where he sells jerseys and stuff, which is pretty unexpected, but I guess kind of cool. Now, the way a hyperpolyglot investigation works, and in this case, I'm not saying he is or isn't a hyperpolyglot, but, you know, one of my investigations works, is we basically get a whole community of people together to look at the available content of the individual and basically judge how good they are at the language. Now, for those curious to know how we do that judgment, we base it on the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages. Now, that is what you're seeing on the screen right now. It goes from A1 to C2. A1 is your basic entry into the language, so you know your basics, you know, pronunciation, some basic questions and answers, maybe a little bit more than that type of thing. And then we go up to the intermediate range, which is B1, B2. B2 is around what people consider to be, you know, have a basic level of fluency. That means you're able to talk about most everyday topics, but you just can't go too far in depth. C1 is basically you're able to construct sentences and use the language on a level similar to that of a native. But again, this does not take accents or anything like that into account. And C2 is just like an educated version of a C1. Now, just for those who are not aware, this is not a linear system. It works more like this right here. As you can see, there is quite a big difference between your B1, your B2, and then obviously your B2 and your C1 type of thing. So there is a lot more effort that is required to get to a higher level compared to learning a bunch of languages to a low level. Now, basically how it works, as I've said, is my community works together. Everyone investigates his abilities. They fill out a Google form. They're unable to see what other people are saying about his abilities. And eventually that is all compiled down into this one document, as you see right here. It will be in the description and pinned comment below. Evildea and Community Investigation of SonnyWils. Okay, so if we scroll down past here, we can see the different ratings for each one of his languages. English is actually rated because this is actually one of the few polyglots, except for, I guess, Kazoo and maybe one other who doesn't speak English natively. Anyway, so we can see the whole document here. You can go and review this yourself. Now, this investigation actually took several parts. So first we did an investigation of available content that was out there. Then we reached out to Sony and asked if he would be willing to do interviews in a few different languages so we could get more content. And he was more than happy to take part, which is a great thing straight off the bat, because that means like he is prepared to basically be run through. That sounds really bad when I say it like that, but you know what I mean. So, as you saw, there was no indication as to his acclaimed abilities in each one of these languages, so the way we're going to do this is, you can see on the right-hand side, I've just listed out the languages that he publicly talks about. So, Indonesian, obviously his native language, English, Spanish, Portuguese, French, Italian, and German. Now, I have not put these anywhere on the graph here because he doesn't claim any specific level in them, which means that this is basically going to be us trying to figure out what his level actually is. So, naturally, we're going to start with English. Now, what you're going to see is an extract from an interview that I did with Sony himself. There will be a link to that in the description as well if you want to watch the entire thing. I think it's roughly around 30 to 40 minutes long, and we go into a bunch of different, most random of topics. We speak about YouTube, zombies, all sorts of random stuff. I think you guys will enjoy that. I guess my next question is, because everyone thinks this when they watch a zombie movie, is if there was a zombie apocalypse, the zombies took over, what would you do?
Like survive?
Yeah.
I mean, I think like I'm going to start to barricade, like look for a good place and then start to barricade.
And what would be a good place to you and why?
At the coast maybe, and then prepare like a boat. So if something goes south, you have something already, like a plan B.
Yep.
I would say like in the coastline, and then you start to barricade it, because at the coast, you have like the sea. And well, most of the zombie movies, they don't swim.
Yep.
So basically at that part, you're safe.
Mm-hmm.
So you prepare your boat, you put everything inside the food, like, how do you say, the ransom? Yeah, the ransom, you put everything.
Oh,
and
so
then
all the
you
provisions.
get ready. The
All your
provisions.
provisions.
You prepare all the provisions and then you barricade. Like try to, I would say like, instead of making like one big barricade, I would say I make like 10 barricades. So if one got destroyed, you still have 9 left, you know?
Yep.
So it doesn't enter like directly to your house.
Now, first we're going to take a look at these English reviews right here. And if you know anything about this system, you're probably looking at those and going, wow, that's like really low that you've rated him. And he seems to be talking about, you know, not a standard topic. That is true, because basically these reviews were conducted before my interview with him, and there wasn't realistically that much content of him speaking in English about many topics. So, after now having done an interview with him myself and tested him on a bunch of different topics, I can safely say that he's probably a B2 level, maybe even a little bit better for certain topics, especially around topics such as languages and YouTube. So, I've moved his English under the B2, but again, it could be a little bit higher, and I think with a little bit of practice, he could probably push it to that C1 level. Okay, so next up, Spanish. Now, I chose this video specifically because the topic of this video actually came up in one of my recent Dreaming Spanish review videos. For those who watch that series, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
Buena. ¿Cuánta empanada hacen como al día así para vender?
150.
150. ¿Cómo se llama?
¿Yo?
¿Sí?
Elena.
Elena.
Polanco.
Sonny.
Sonny.
Edith. Edith.
Sonny se llama.
Sonny. Soy de Indonesia, por cierto. Estoy viajando por acá, por Chile. Y...
¿Ya? ¿Le gusta?
Sí, me gusta mucho. Llegué en Fiesta Patria. Y ahí como...
Por eso conoce la empanada.
Sí. Ya, ahí está el horno. Oh, qué rico. Getsemani. El bosque.
Hola,
¿Cómo
para
te llamas?
Indonesia, Marcelo.
Sonny, un gusto.
Y bueno, y hoy estamos vendiendo empanadas porque vamos a construir, vamos a arreglar. Entonces,
¿Recién entonces o hace tiempo?
Mi mamá hace años hace empanadas.
Ah.
Pero acá estamos recién, ya llevamos 2 veces vendiendo empanadas acá.
El aroma está pero tentador porque
Sí,
nosotros pasamos,
po.
no teníamos planeado comer empanadas, pero cuando sentimos el aroma,
Sí,
¿Ya?
como uy, qué
ya.
rico el olor.
Ya. ¿Y tú la has probado la empanada?
Sí,
Que por eso trabajamos acá, pues hacemos beneficios.
quiere como
Para-
reparar esto.
Claro.
Muchísimas gracias, Marcelo. Sí.
Ahí están saliendo
Ahí
las
está.
empanadas.
Justamente.
estamos listas.
¿Estás lista?
Bueno, ahí estamos, que ahí este grupo.
¡Wow!
Ya.
¡Uy, qué rica! Muy linda la empanadita. Empanadita. Huele muy rica.
Está caliente.
Okay, so we didn't conduct any interviews with him in Spanish, but it doesn't really matter because we had more than enough content. If you have a look right here on the screen, you can see that the comments were generally around a C1 to a B2 based on the current content that was available publicly. So let's read some of these. He is able to comfortably function in the language and does not seem to be limited in the language in any noticeable way. He's able to express what he needs to say fluidly and spontaneously and with very little to no fumbling for words. Not only that, but he is able to effortlessly express humor when interacting with natives, which is not something that is easy for non-native speakers of the language to do. His vocabulary seems quite robust and his pronunciation, intonation, rhythm are all native-like. Maybe not 100%, but pretty close. I would say overall he has a similar level of Spanish as me, which I would rate as a very solid C1. It's hard to say if he is a level as a C2 due to the nature of his content, which doesn't really challenge him in daily interactions. Overall, he's probably the best Spanish speaker we have reviewed up until this point. Technically, Patrick might be better, but given Patrick's native language is Brazilian Portuguese, it's crazy that the two are even comparable. Now, during my English interview with Sony, I asked him whether he had any, certification in any of his languages, and this is something I always ask the people who I investigate, and funnily enough, he's actually passed a C1. So as you can see right here on the screen, he has a C1 cert. We judged him to be a strong B2 C1 based on the publicly available content that he's got out there, but since he has a certificate, there's no doubt he's better than a C1 because you need to be better than a C1 to get a C1 certificate. So he is a phenomenal speaker of Spanish. So based on all that, I put the Spanish under the C1 category. Now let's take a look at his Portuguese.
Hello.
Hi,
How are you?
I am from Brazil.
How are you?
Brazil?
Como que você tá? Não é onde você é.
Brasil. Ah, é verdade. E você tá na onde?
Indonésia?
Hã?
Indonésia.
Indonésia.
Você sabe indonésia ou não?
Não.
Como que não? Quantos anos você tem?
Não sabe nem falar oi. Como falar oi?
Hello.
Como você sabe falar português?
Aprende português.
Sozinho?
Sozinho.
Sério?
Sério?
Você nunca veio pro Brasil?
Já fui pro Brasil também.
Você é o
Comunicar.
quê? Indonesiano?
Sim?
Parece chinês. Ela parece ser da Arábia, né?
Da Arábia. Ah, sim.
Parece ser japonesa, né?
Você não...
Brasileira.
Vocês todas são brasileiras?
Uhum.
Ok. Não tem outra sangue? Sei lá. Tipo...
Indígena, certo? É,
Indígena. É você? Não asiática? Não tem? Sangue asiático? Qual?
Indígena.
Indígena?
Indígena não é asiático, burra. Ah, eu tô entendendo.
Okay, so let's take a look at the Portuguese reviews. Clearly capable of understanding to a decent level with a perfectly understandable accent. He sounds like a Spanish speaker that studies Portuguese. That's actually kind of crazy because, you know, obviously he's Indonesian. The fact he was able to communicate with both Portuguese and Brazilian speakers was also indicative of a great understanding. Remember, guys, you're only seeing a tiny fraction of the videos during this actual video. If you want to see more, you can always go to this document and go check out all the different videos. The biggest issue with his content in Portuguese is that he never really says much more than simple phrases, and there are a lot of cuts. He can repeat back what he is told to show he understood, but doesn't develop further most of the time. He's not quite fluent at formulating sentences either, usually forgetting prepositions, but the message is always totally understandable. Okay, so his Portuguese is somewhere around a B1 based on the current content we have available to us, and you're probably thinking, then why didn't we just do an interview with him in Portuguese? Well, he was happy to do an interview in all of his languages, but realistically, it was just hard for us to try and find a time between our interviewers and him. So just be aware that he was open to this. Next up, French, and this was an interview that was actually conducted with a member of our community. If you want to watch it in full, link in the description below.
Et donc, à part le voyage et la nourriture, je sais que tu as parlé de films de zombies avec Evildea, par exemple.
Ouais.
Est-ce que tu as des livres que tu préfères ou des auteurs favoris?
Moi, livre que je préfère. En fait, c'est le livre en Indonésie. J'aime bien.
Ok.
Il y a un auteur, comme tu dis. Oui. C'est
Un auteur,
le
oui,
même.
un auteur, c'est ça.
Auteur en Indonésie, ici, en indonésien, qui s'appelle, attends, Eka Kurniawan.
Ok.
Ouais.
Et il fait quoi comme type de livre, hein? Il écrit sur quoi?
Il écrit sur le sarcasme.
Ok.
Ouais. Mais il écrit ça avec l'histoire d'Indonésie. Et donc, moi, je n'aime pas bien l'histoire, mais quand j'ai lu son livre, et j'ai commencé à entendre plus avec mon histoire de mon pays.
D'accord.
Okay, so let's check out one of the comments. He's a strong A2 level speaker. His intelligence and confidence gives the impression that he's more advanced than he really is, but frequent grammar errors and structural issues quickly reveal otherwise. He makes basic mistakes that a solid B1 speaker would typically avoid, particularly the verb usage, prepositions, and sentence structure. His French is heavily influenced by English, which affects the natural rhythm and syntax of his speech. He tends to confuse similar verbs, misuse prepositions, and make reoccurring grammar mistakes, especially with articles and noun-adjective agreement. Overall, despite the limited fluency and vocabulary, he's able to hold a basic exchange. He's functional at the A2 level, but not quite ready for the B1. Based on that, he's somewhere between an A2 and a B1 level. Now let's take a look at Italian.
¿Hablas para italiano?
Sí, hablo italiano.
Parla.
Possiamo parlare italiano o spagnolo?
Sì.
Lo che
Italiano.
quieres tu.
Lo che quiero italiano.
Di dove sei?
Italia?
Sì, ma dove? Cioè, la città.
Ah,
Ci sono tante città.
Milano. Come fai a sapere l'italiano?
L'ho imparato
E dove?
sull'internet,
Ah,
da solo.
figo. Hai un consiglio per qualcuno che vuole imparare una lingua nuova?
Quale lingua tu stai imparando adesso?
E volevo imparare il coreano,
Coreano? Bene.
però è molto, molto difficile.
Perché ti piace la lingua, perché ti piace che dramma? Qual è la ragione?
Mi piace la lingua
Ok,
e poi ascolto anche molta musica
ok,
coreana.
capito. Cioè, ciò che tu hai bisogno di fare è imparare la grammatica basica
Mm.
e dopo imparare vocabolario. Ciò che tu hai bisogno è imparare, diciamo, 100 vocabolari più usato in coreano.
Diresti che tipo guardare video in coreano con
Esatto.
sottotitoli è utile?
Esattamente.
So, Italian was one of those ones where we were trying to line up an interview between him and the interviewer, but unfortunately, due to time differences and stuff, it just never really panned out. So, based on the public content we have available, he's around a B1 level. So, let's have a look at this. His level in older videos is significantly higher than in more recent ones, which aligns with his statements that it has been a long time since he last spoke the language. Based on my experience with learners of Italian, he likely reached a level higher than what is typically achieved after 6 months of study. His reaction speed, the apparent ease with which he finds words, and his solid, almost native-like pronunciation all suggest that he reached at least a B2 level in the past with even stronger comprehension skills. And apparently Elmo is hot. Got some fans, my man. So, based on that, we've assigned him a B1 level here, but he may have actually reached a higher level in the past, it's just he's degraded down to a B1 now. Now, finally, we're going to take a look at German. Okay, so the clip I'm going to show you is going to have one of the faces blurred out, and that's because the person in the clip is under 18 years old. They're 17 years old. Now, this wasn't blurred out by him, but it was blurred out by me, and I'm not making a big deal of this for any particular reason, except for the fact that nowadays you got to be a little bit more careful on YouTube when you show minors in videos. So let's watch this.
It's like in Indonesia.
Sehr, sehr gut. Sehr, sehr gut hier. Sehr heiß.
Heiß. Wie viel Grad?
Uff, ich weiß nicht, Alter. Ich glaube 35.
Hey, du sprichst gut Deutsch.
Ja, ein bisschen. Ich lerne Deutsch gerade. Dicker.
Warst du schon mal in Deutschland?
Nein. How do you say not yet?
Noch nicht.
Noch nicht, ja. Noch nicht. Aber ich möchte in Deutschland reisen. Ja.
Studierst du oder gehst noch zur Schule? Was machst du?
Ich arbeite mit meinem Vater. Wir verkaufen die Schmiermittel, ich glaube, auf Deutsch. Schmiermittel.
Ja.
Wie alt sind Sie?
18 und er ist 17.
18, 17. Okay. Wie heißen Sie? Ja.
Ja, ich bin Robin.
Robin. Und du?
Ja, ich bin Till.
Okay, Robin und Till. Freut mich.
Ja, war nice.
Okay, now funnily enough, we had a ton of reviews for German, and you can see it's kind of scattered all over the place. We've got pre-A1, A1, A2. Realistically, there's just not enough content to be able to make a proper judgment call based on his German, so he's somewhere between the A1 and the A2 range, I would say, and I'm going to leave that up to you guys. In the comments, you can go read yourself in the attached document. Okay, so that's pretty much it for all the languages he likes to display on his YouTube channel and, you know, pop up all the time. But there's two other languages which he does speak, but doesn't really ever talk about on his channel. And in fact, I kind of had to pry them out of him. The first one is Javanese, and you're going to see me asking him to speak a little bit of Javanese. And I included this not so we could, like, you know, figure out what his level in Javanese is. It's just because, well, I like seeing languages that are generally not shown or not, you know, they're not part of the polyglot YouTube space, and I figured it'd just be cool to show you guys. Because when we did the investigation, my Indonesian, reviewers, they were like, hey, this guy's clearly Javanese. So you speak Javanese, is right, yeah?
I speak it.
So
I speak it.
You got to speak some, so I can clip it and put it into my video.
Okay. I'll speak like my Javanese because there are like some like types of Javanese. Biar kabare aku saiki lagi ngobrol karo Richard Delamore atau sing biasa diceluk jenenge Evildea. Jadi salam untuk arek-arek kabeh sing lagi nonton iki. arek-arek Surabaya khususnya karena aku di arek Surabaya, FIFA Persebaya Wani.
Nice. I have
That's
no
it.
idea whether you were insulting me, but it sounds good. Okay, so this is your moment to shine, Javanese speakers. Translate down in the comments section below what he actually said, because, well, I don't know. Okay, next one we're going to take a look at is Hokkien. I believe I pronounced that right.
They speak it like the Chinese. I mean the Hokkien, the phrases that I can speak. It's mostly like what my mother said to me, or maybe when I order some food.
Oh, so probably her swearing at you type of thing.
Something like that, or maybe something like that, or maybe about food. Like ai cha kway teow cha pwala, something like that. Like I want to order some food.
Okay, yep.
Yeah. So,
awesome.
Yeah, that's like most of them. They speak it around Malaysia, Singapore, and Medan. They say that this language or dialect, I don't know, it comes from Taiwan, because Taiwan also have Hokkien, but their Hokkien is different with the Southeast Asian.
Oh, okay.
That's interesting. I never went to Taiwan. My mom went to Taiwan once, not like twice or thrice, but she said like, yeah, the Hokkien is really different.
Okay, so what you're looking at now is the final outcome of the investigation. Obviously, we got the 3 native languages along the right there, and as you can see, he's a really high level in Spanish. With his English, when talking about languages, I would say he's definitely in the C1 range. However, when it gets to topics that are generally not the, the everyday topic, his English starts to break apart a little bit, but it's still very good. And obviously, he's got now Portuguese, Italian, and possibly even French at the lower intermediate range. So this guy's a legitimate polyglot. Like, he actually speaks languages really, really well. And the funny thing is, he's actually got a really good accent for languages. I've been told his Spanish is, as you guys saw already in the video, but I've been told by multiple sources that his Spanish is goddamn good. So basically, he doesn't like oversell his abilities. He doesn't even say what his abilities are in languages. He just says, these are my languages, and then goes out and actually speaks them really well. So massive props to him. Now, there is one last part I do need to include in this video, and that's because this is actually becoming more and more relevant by the day, and it's something that I had to kind of warn him about, and it's something for all YouTube polyglots to be aware about, and that's including minors within your videos. I think it won't be too long before we end up in a situation where you're going to basically get blacklisted by YouTube if you include them in your videos, and I actually asked him his thoughts about this. Now, also, when we were doing the investigation, one of the concerns some people brought up were, like, when you do Omegle TV, Omegle, sorry, I forget how to pronounce it, you sometimes do it with minors. So is that ever a concern for you? I'm sorry, I'm just have to interrupt this. I'm just looking at the subtitles right now, and the way it's translating my English is amazing.
No, because like, I don't know, like, I don't even know that's a thing, like maybe in US or maybe Australian, because
it's definitely a thing in Western countries.
Yeah, because I made it like just for fun. I mean, we didn't do anything. I mean, we just talked, we laughed.
Yep.
Maybe we did like some, like, I would say like 18, no, I don't know if it's like 18 plus, or maybe like out of context jokes, like way too much jokes. But at the end, it was just a jokes. I mean, like dark jokes. I mean, maybe like the most video, I would say like the Italian girl, Dia, I would say, yeah. That's like the most video that I have now. But actually, we never talk. I mean, we just talk sometimes. She sent me a message, but I just respond him like, "What's up?" I mean, we talk with the bro. What's up, bro? Okay. I'm good. Blah blah blah. I mean, with the minor on Omin TV, I mean, I never talk with them after.
Okay.
And that's it. I mean, it was just
I know with YouTube now, they actually ask if the minors appear in the film when you upload it.
Ah.
Yeah, so you might want to watch out for that, because yeah, it could actually come to punish you later on. Yeah, check it during the upload. There's like a tick box, I think.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, because in my head, like, we're just joking. I mean, at the beginning of my Omi TV journey, I would say, it was like always joking. So, like, it was just always joking, like everything that like out of context, like too much, I will cut it out. So something funny that maybe for some people from the Western, in this case, they found it like, oh, this guy's crazy, like this guy's like creepy. But yeah, I mean, for me, it was just for fun, It was just to make people laugh at the end, because
that's probably one of those things where it's like culturally quite different and we'll need to be aware of.
Yeah, because I don't know if you kind of like look it up, because most of my followers at the end, like between Indonesians and Latin America, like Latinos, and they like it. So I was like, okay.
Oh yeah, no, I don't doubt people don't like it, but it is something that has popped up during the investigation.
Yeah,
so you're aware.
Understood.
Okay, now I do want to stress, I'm not showing you this in order to try and make you hate on him or anything like that. That's not the intention. My purpose here is just to show how fast things are actually rapidly evolving in the online space. Like, even when I started YouTube, I used to make videos with Esperanto speakers. Some of them were under 18 years old. I had 7-year-olds run up, like there's literally an old video of mine of a 7-year-old run up, grab my camera, run around and film. And I just kept that footage because it was friggin' funny as. But as time has progressed, we're now seeing laws roll out all around the world regarding minors and their online usage and online perception. So we as YouTubers overall definitely have to be more aware and like careful around this type of thing, just, so it doesn't come back and bite us in the ass later on. In summary, Sonny is an amazing speaker of Spanish, and he has a real affinity for accents overall, and he has a number of languages under his belt, making him a legitimate polyglot. And the great part is, he's not trying to oversell his abilities. There is nothing here, not one stain that I can see, that realistically in any way could, bring him down in my eyes from what I've seen so far. So I highly recommend you go check him out, sub to his channel, not that he needs my help or anything like that. And this is going to go into one of the good reviews, because this man seems to be completely honest, and the more I spoke with him about languages, the more I could tell that he was actually in it because he fucking loved languages. And that's pretty much it. I'll see you all in the next video. If there's anyone else you want me to check out, please let me know in the comment section below.